Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of OVWmania here on Triple Threat Talk. Now, there wasn't an episode last week because things got really busy, so there was no updates. So if you're a little bit behind on OVW, you can always go to my blog at ovwmania.blogspot.com to catch up. There's a lot of things to go over this week, and I guess the first place to start would be the recent TNA releases. A few weeks ago, they had already released Alex Silva and Doug Williams. This week, they've released Christian York, Joey Ryan, and then TNA talents that were also down here in OVW, Crimson and Taylor Hendricks. Now, Taylor said that she actually asked for hers, but the biggest surprise, I think, for most people was Crimson, especially after his debut where he was undefeated for the longest time. I think he's a great talent, and TNA said that they're doing all this because of financials, trying to cut contracts they don't need. Honestly, I think they need to do it in other places. Paying, I'm sure, out the wahoo for Hulk Hogan and his daughter Brooke. Probably the contracts they've got on the table for King Mo and Rampage Jackson just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because they're people that aren't going to be there that much longer, probably. Especially like Rampage and King Mo are probably going to be, just sporadic when they do perform for TNA. So they need to, if they want to be a successful company, especially in the long term, they need to put more into OVW, into developmental, and some of these young guys like, Crimson and Alex Silva and Joey Ryan, and some of the other young guys out there are not even necessarily in OVW. They need to start working to get more of these guys ready for the future when Sting starts breaking down, when Kurt Angle starts breaking down, and so on and so forth. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I think I mentioned it. If it wasn't last week, it was a couple weeks ago. I know it was somewhat recently. I said that I want TNA to be successful, but I just think they need smarter decision making. Some of these cuts I don't think were the smartest moves, but regardless, we'll see what happens. And I also always stress to people, we don't always know everything as fans out here, so take everything you hear and see with a grain of salt. Another thing they've mentioned was that the relationship between TNA and OVW is in shambles. I don't think it's as bad as they're making it out to be, or even any problems at all. But like I said, just until you see anything for certain, don't believe everything you see or read, because it's like even the reports that they brought out the other day. Said that one of the releases was Sam Shaw, and then they came out later that day and said, "Oops, our mistake. It was, Sam Shaw's not released; he's still on the roster." So until things are confirmed, just you've got to take it lightly until things are confirmed. So, still speaking on TNA, Impact is just around the corner, and I'm hoping it's a good show, because it's basically going to be like a free pay-per-view. They're going to be doing Destination X that night. Chris Sabin is now the champion, the X Division champion once again, and he'll have the option that night of facing Bully Ray for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And then we'll still get a regular Impact taping on top of that as well, so it should be a great night of action. I'm hoping it is anyway, so we'll see what happens with that. I guess the next thing to get into would be the latest edition of OVW TV, which I believe was 7/24. It was filmed at the Davis Arena Wednesday, July 3rd, released online on the 4th of July on the Thursday, and then on WBNA Ion 21 Saturday, the 6th at noon, the day before, or the day of the Saturday night special. Earlier in the day, it was on TV. The show started out with Jamin Olivencia calling out Rob Terry because the week prior, Rob had cracked him in the back with a chair. Rob came to the ring, said, "Yeah, I know I made a mistake." And Jamin says, "Well, which part, Rob?" He goes, "Was it the part where you let Jay Bradley get the win over me? Was it the part where you let Jay Bradley become #1 contender? Or was it the fact that you hit me in the back with a chair? And Rob says, do you seriously think somebody my size would need to hit you with a steel chair? And while they're arguing, Jay Bradley comes out and he reiterates that he's #1 contender. And he says it doesn't matter if it's the Vanilla Gorilla talking about Rob Terry or the pint-sized Puerto Rican talking about Jamin, who wins at Saturday Night Special. He said somebody's going to have a date with him and the Boomstick soon after the SNS. Rob has the microphone and says something about, when he beats Jamin, he'll be more than willing to face Jay and the Boomstick. Jamin gets mad, hits Rob, and then it doesn't really faze Rob. And the big man grabs Jamin, power slams him, and leaves him laying in the ring to start the show. We go backstage to the locker room after this, and we see where Taylor and Nikki are talking about Taylor's relationship with Heidi Lovelace, and Taylor, talks about again the fact that she's got Heidi wrapped around her finger and has her doing everything for her, and that soon she's going to be a 4-time women's champion. We then see that Heidi is peeking around the corner and hears everything that's going on and looks very distraught about what she's heard. Back in the ring, we have a 6-man tag, basically a squash with Rudy and the really, really new Rockers, Ryan Howe and Rockstar Spud, defeating the VIP Club. After the match, they grab a mic and say that there's a war on the coalition, and they're going to have a Texas Tornado Rules match, no disqualifications, at SNS. Marcus Anthony continues his domination as he defeats the Baxters, the Team Lambda Lambda Lambda, in a handicap match. We have a ladies match between Lady Tapa and Holly Blossom, but it's interrupted by Epiphany, who comes to the ring and takes the hood off one of the cameramen, who is actually Eddie Diamond, where he's actually been filming Lady Tapa during the match. And she ends up challenging Lady Tapa, which Tapa accepts, and then they shove each other and end up both hitting Eddie Diamond, who tries to get in between them. It's in that segment. Back in the locker room once again, we see Heidi Lovelace crying as she's talking to Trina. And Trina says that she has an idea. How about they partner up at the Saturday Night Special and wipe the smirks off the faces of Taylor Hendricks and Nikki St. John. The camera's taken away by Crimson and Jason Wayne, and they say something about there will be blood and tell the cameraman to follow them. Next match, we have a television title match. Randy Royal defending against Dylan Bostic. And it was basically a match of who could cheat best and not get caught. Royal had the match won after clocking Bostic in the head with a chain. But Royal's old friend Tony Gunn popped up on the monitors and distracted Royal, saying that he had put his career on hold and he got stabbed in the back by Randy, and that he was going to do everything he could to make his life miserable until he lost the television title, which happened just a few seconds later because with Royal distracted, Bostic came up behind him, rolled him up, and with his feet on the ropes got the pin. And we now have a new television champion in the King of Pink, Dylan Bostic. We then got another video saying the body guy's coming soon, so that should be a lot of fun. Jesse Goddard, who's been on a losing streak lately, came out and said he handpicked his opponent for tonight, and it's none other than Nick Dumeyer. Jesse basically had him beat and was just toying around with him. Got too cocky and started posing, and it allowed Dumeyer to recover and roll Jesse Goddard's up and get the victory over Jesse Goddard's. Dean Hill then came to the ring with a microphone and went over Jesse's accolades, and then said that he knows Nick and Nick's a good guy, but he said, Jesse, you just got beat by Nick Dumeyer of all people. And he said that, what are you going to do about this losing streak? Which Jesse kept saying that he's not a loser, he's a winner, and he's on TV, and all these people in the audience watch TV. And he said he's not going to lose again. And then he asked Dean, he goes, if I were to lose again, not that it's going to happen, he goes, what would you suggest? And Dean said that, if he was losing that much, that he'd consider giving his contract up. And Jesse Goddard said, well, how about this? He said, since all these people talking about the fans want to get involved, he goes, they can all use social media. Social media. They can go to your Facebook, Dean Hill, or they can go to OVW's Facebook, and they can pick a stipulation. If I were to lose again, what's going to happen to me? So that should be pretty interesting to see what happens there with Jesse Goddard, what the fans decide. To end the night, Gilbert Corsi was in the ring, and he said the big question is, will Muhammad Ali Vaez and Michael Hayes defend their titles once again against the Generals at Saturday Night Special? They came out to the ring, and they didn't get too far into their interview when on the monitors they showed the Coalition driving to Michael Hayes' house. They invade his house and start throwing things all over the place and find his Purple Heart and take it into their possession and say that Michael will get it back once they get their property back, talking about the Southern Tag Team titles. Ali goes nuts on the mic saying that what they're doing is wrong and all that. Michael grabs the mic and says that he's not going to scream and yell, but talks about the hatred he's had built up inside of him for the last 7 years, and he's needed a way to get it out. And at Saturday Night Special, he's going to let it all out on the Coalition. So that was episode 724. As I said, the week prior to that, obviously, episode 723 and the dark matches for 724, you can check out on OVWmania.blogspot.com. I'm going to take a short break real quick, and when we come back, I'm going to go over the Saturday Night Special results from Saturday, July 6th. One of the best Saturday Night Specials in a long time. I would say it definitely ranks up as one of the top of this year, if not the very top. So we'll talk about it in just a moment after the short break.
2 weeks from tonight, the high-flying, death-defying action of the X Division takes over Thursday Night Impact Wrestling. For the first time ever for free, TNA Wrestling brings Destination X to Spike TV when the biggest names from the past, present, and future collide. Will the X Division champion cash in his title for a shot at Bully Ray's TNA World Heavyweight Championship? Destination X, live from Louisville, Kentucky, Thursday night, July 18th, only on Spike.
All right, Saturday Night Special, July 6, 2013. Sold out crowd. The crowd was into it all night. There was chants going on. There was chants going on for the fans even. So it was a very fun night. And then, of course, great matches all through the night. Everybody involved put on great matches for the Saturday Night Special. If you've never bought a DVD from OVW for any of their shows or Saturday Night Specials or anything, this would be the one to get. I think it was one of the loudest, one of the, like I said, the best nights, probably the best SNS of 2013, and probably one of the best over the last couple of years since I've been going regularly. So here's the rundown of what happened. If you plan on getting the DVD or you're not caught up on the OVW TV, you might want to fast forward a little bit or put the volume down for now, because I'm giving you a heads up spoiler alert. But here's the quick rundown on what happened. The night started off, Trina and Heidi teamed up to defeat Taylor and Nikki. Heidi gave Taylor the kiss of death and then rolled her up for the pin. Tony Gunn beat Elvis Pridemore by disqualification after Randy Royal came out and attacked Gunn. He said that Gunn cost him everything, and he's got bill collectors after him, and kept on kicking and stomping away at Gunn. The Baxters, Lambda, actually got a victory over the odd pairing of Body Guy and Paradise, who were with 4M, Mr. Marvelous, Melvin Maximus at ringside. Jay Bradley got a singles victory over Aaron Sky, and then reminded Jamin and Rob Terry that he'd be keeping an eye on their match later in the night because he is the #1 contender. Dylan Bostic successfully defended his newly won television title against Eddie Diamond. The Coalition's Suicide Squad, Joe Coleman, Shiloh Jones, Rudo Lamada defeated Rudy Switchblade and the Really Really New Rockers, Ryan Howe and Rockstar Spud. Rudy and the Rockers were on fire to start the match, and then Joe Coleman used his handcuffs to handcuff both Rudy and Ryan Howe to the ring post. So basically, it became a 3-on-1 with Rockstar Spud, who made an awesome showing for himself with the odds stacked against him. He was able to retrieve the key from Joe Coleman to get Rudy and Ryan Howe untied from the ring post, and then they were back on fire again. But then the surprise of the night came when Flash Flanagan, of all people, came out with a kendo stick and hit Rudy across the back and then hit Ryan Howe in the head with a kendo stick, and it allowed Raul Amada to get the pin. So it appears that Flash Flanagan might be the newest recruit to the Coalition. Talking about the way the cheers were going and as crazy as the crowd was all night, there's a really good fan at OVW, little kid that we've nicknamed Micro because he looks like a Micro Bully Ray. He was really giving it to Michael Titus during intermission, and so he started a Micro chant. And Terry Bodie, the ring announcer, grabbed the mic and said, "What has two thumbs and is more over than you?" And pointed over to the kid, which I thought was kind of funny. His name is Chance, and he's he's one of the best parts of the shows because he really gives it to Michael Titus and especially Jesse Goddard when he's there wrestling, and some of the other guys as well. But we really enjoyed doing that Micro chant for him, and he ate it up big time. After intermission was over, we had another ladies match between Lady Tapa and Epiphany. Eddie Diamond came out at the beginning and said that Epiphany's still his girl, but he also looks at Lady Tapa, and even though her lips say no, her eyes are saying yes to him, which Lady Tapa ends up hitting him and clotheslining him, which he stays at ringside during the match. Epiphany goes off the ropes at one point, and Eddie grabs her leg to keep her from getting hit by Tapa, and she turns around and calls him a stupid boy, which started a stupid boy chant from the crowd. She ends up turning around into Lady Tapa's finishing move, and Lady Tapa gets the win. However, with Eddie Diamond's interference, after the match is over, she power bombs, kicks and power bombs Eddie Diamond, and then the crowd ate that up and asked for one more time. Got a chant going for that as well. And she turned around and said, one more time, and of course everybody was like, yeah. So Eddie got hit with a second power bomb from Epiphany, which turns out to have been her retirement match since she's walking away from the squared circle. So we want to thank Epiphany for all her hard work in the ring and entertaining us for the last couple of years, and wish her all the best in her future, whatever she decides to go to next. Then we had our double main event. First up, they had the OVW heavyweight title match between Jamin Olavencia and Rob Terry. It was a good back and forth match. Jay Bradley tried interfering at one point, actually grabbed Rob Terry and tripped him up. And a little bit later in the match, he threw Terry Bodie down and grabbed the steel chair, got in the ring after Chris Sharp had gotten knocked out, and he cracked Rob Terry in the back with the chair and then threw the chair over on top of Jamin Olavencia, who was down. And when Rob got up, he saw Jamin with the chair, and they start arguing about what happened with Jay Bradley still on the ring apron, and then they kind of figure out, hey, we think Jay did this. Jamin throws the chair over at Jay, and Rob then hits the chair into Jay's face and sends him flying off the apron, and then they go back to their match. And after many near falls back and forth, with Rob Terry hitting a couple power bombs and power slams and Jamin kicking out, Jamin hit a couple standing O's and Rob kicked out. Finally, Jamin hit a standing O off the second rope to take down the big man and retain the OVW Heavyweight Championship. So now Jamin will be looking at Jay Bradley as his next challenger, whether that happens on TV over the next couple weeks or the next Saturday night special. Before the final main event happened between Michael Hayes, Muhammad Ali Vaez, and the Coalition Generals, they had everyone in attendance pay attention to a special family that was there. I believe they said they came all the way from Massachusetts, and it was the Story family, and it was the wife, daughter, and son of a guy with the last name Story, obviously, that was with Michael Hayes when they were overseas, and of course, Mr. Story did not survive, and the family, well, especially the son, who the wife was pregnant with at the time, had never met Michael Hayes, the only survivor of that explosion over there. And it was very cool for them to be there, which everyone stood up and started the USA chant. And it was a very cool moment for them to be there to meet, especially for the son, to meet Michael Hayes for the first time. And there was actually pictures on Facebook today when I'm filming this of him playing at Candyland with the little kid, and it was just really really cool moment for that to happen. So in the main event, Michael Hayes and Muhammad Ali Vaez got the win. They retained the OVW Southern Tag Team titles. The Coalition tried to interfere, but Rudy and the Rockers came out to chase them off to the back. Then Crimson and Jason Wayne were actually going to try to use the spike pile driver on Michael Hayes, but Muhammad Ali Vaez got up in time to knock Jason Wayne off the top rope through a table that Wayne had set up at ringside earlier in the match. And then Ali was able to pass Hayes' prosthetic that Crimson had taken off earlier in the match back to Hayes. Hayes hit Crimson across the back with it, and then Ali and Hayes actually delivered a spike pile driver to Crimson. So they got the win because of that. And that's the same move that Crimson and Wayne have used to take out Moose, Johnny Spade, where they've been gone off OVW TV. So if Crimson was indeed released, and that was his last night, I would say that was the way that they were going to write him off, and especially with it appearing that Flash had joined the Coalition, helping them out earlier in the night, I would say that's a good possibility. At the end of the night, Michael Hayes ripped the Coalition flag off the flagpole and draped it over Crimson and Wayne's fallen bodies. So that was the Saturday night special. Like I said, it was a great night of action. I said just everything about it just was made it an awesome night. So don't forget, you can check out all the details on all the matches, as well as the newest top 20 will be coming out soon. Every Monday night following WWE Raw. I usually have it up and posted. That's all on OVWmania.blogspot.com. I send out the links through my Twitter. You can follow me at @TheBrianCannon. Also follow, of course, Terry Bodie at TP Bodie. That's TPBODDIE. And Ref Chris Sharp at REFCHRISSHARPE. Like I said, they're both really good about retweeting my links as well, and all my stories, and I like trying to retweet anything that they've got out, especially Chris Sharp and his wrestling podcast that only kind of has to do with wrestling. Like I said, he's got a bunch of them out already that are really great. I actually talked to him on Facebook earlier tonight, and he said that he's got some new ones coming out soon, sometime this month, with Trailer Park Trash, former OVW superstar and Ring of Honor star Mike Mondo, and former OVW TNA superstar Alex Silva. So those should be some really good listens. So make sure you check those out when they come out. And like I said, I'll also be retweeting the links for them as well. So thanks for hanging in through all of this. I know it was a lot of OVW news with the TNA releases, last week's OVW TV, and the Saturday night special. But that'll wrap it up for this week. I am Brian Cannon, and we're going to send it back to the Triple Threat studio.